Hi, I'm Mark with American Tank Company. We're here at 501 American Way in Windsor. Got a beautiful shop. I can't wait to show it to you. And I'm super excited about starting this video series on tanks, fittings, all sorts of stuff. Come on, this is gonna be awesome. Hi, it's Mark with American Tank Company. I'm here at our shop at 501 American Way. Been here about 8 years. Got a beautiful shop here. Today we are going to take this little 5,000 gallon low profile poly tank. We call them a tuna can because it kind of look like a tuna can. Actually we have tunas, peanuts, and we call them talls. Anyways, 3 different sizes of 5,000. But today we're taking a tuna and we're going to put a 6-inch fitting, stainless steel, type 316 stainless steel. This happens to be one of our patented Rhino fittings, and we call them boltless fittings because in a few minutes I'm going to show you how none of this hardware on this fitting is going to go through the wall of that tank. All the hardware is going to be on the outside of the tank, and we're going to get an incredible seal without having to run any bolt holes through the side of that tank whatsoever. The only thing we're going to do is cut a fitting body hole just for this. It's as simple as it gets, and I'll tell you what, once you see how easy these are to install, and once you put one in yourself, you'll never want to do anything else again as far as other fittings go. So this one, we're actually going to put a 150-pound Vic flange adapter on there so that when they go to pipe this tank, they're going to pipe up to it with anti-flanges. So it's going to be just a really killer little installation on this tank. Little background on this. If you've been in this biz for very long, you know that it's almost impossible to get a fitting over 4-inch size pipe thread for poly tanks. You can get them in polypro, PVC, and stainless. We make a whole line from 1/2 inch to 8 inch. But when you want to go over 4-inch size for a standard tank adapter, or even, you know, a typical bolted fitting, they don't exist, okay? So I've seen guys take a couple of Van Stone flanges or, you know, just a Schedule 80 PVC flange and lay them out on the tank wall and cut out the center hole and drill all the bolt holes, and then they get a couple gaskets, some bolts, sealing washers, and they put it all together and they hope it seals. It's not a great solution. So today we're going to show you how the pros do it with one of our boltless Rhino fittings, and it's just, I think you're going to be blown away when you see it. When we're all done, we're going to put a 6-inch Anti-Vortex on the inside, and we're going to be using this rigid quick coupler that's done just literally seconds to bolt this Anti-Vortex assembly onto the tank fitting when it's all installed. This just goes on the back side, that hooks up to here. You're going to be really surprised how easy this is. In a minute, I'm going to put it up on the bench, take it apart, show you how it works, and then my son Peter's going to be helping us out today, and he'll be installing it, and I'll narrate a little bit for you so that together we can give you a really good idea how this is done. Okay, we've got our 6-inch Rhino boltless fitting up on the bench. First thing we're going to do when you get this guy is you're going to disassemble it. Okay, so what I want you to do is just take all your studs out. We kind of got these ready to go so we didn't bore you with the long video. Take all your studs out around them, put them in a pile. You got this guy here, one more. Your keeper plates are going to come off next. Set those right there, one more stud down here. Okay, 2 keeper plates, call that the pressure plate, and the face plate. It's that simple. So that's it for hardware: keepers, pressure plate, face plate. We now have just the fitting body and the gasket. And if you want to just take a quick look, you can just, if you can zoom in here, take a look at my other son, Andrew. My oldest son does all the welding, and he's just incredible on the robotic welder that we've got. And just look at that bead. Just unbelievable. Looks like squished it out with a tube of toothpaste. It's perfect. So anyways, what's going to happen next is my son Peter's going to do the layout on the tank quick, and we are going to cut that fitting body hole, get this thing installed, and then we'll show you how easy it is to reassemble it, and in just minutes, and you just got an incredible fitting on the tank. Okay, now that we've got our 6-inch boltless fitting disassembled on the bench, we are ready to start the installation. First thing before we do that, we're on this installation, we're going to put an Anti-Vortex assembly on the inside, and in our area here in Northern California, standard code around all the counties is this plate's going to end up 6 inches off the bottom of the tank. So you're going to want to measure real carefully which we're going to do, and we do all our layouts 18 inches to the center. So we are going to take the gasket for a template, and we've already done layout on the tank, but I am going to check it for about the 4th time, and I'll tell you why. And that is exactly 18 to that dot off the ground. And we're working off a customer supplied drawing for the whole layout for all the fittings on this tank. But if there's one thing I can tell you after 42 years of doing this, it is measure 3 times, cut once. Because you can move this fitting, you could cap it if you get it wrong and put another one in as long as it's about a foot away. But you're not going to move it an inch or a ½ inch or 3 inches. So take your time, make sure your layout's correct. Have someone double check. These guys lay the tank out and they hand the drawing to somebody else to double check their layout before we ever start cutting a fitting in. So I'm going to give this to Peter. I've already checked, the height's perfect. And he's going to use the gasket, and just a simple Sharpie on a poly tank works real good. He's just going to eyeball it because you'd be just blown away how accurate your eye is. And first thing, he's going to trace that gasket all the way around, and that is going to be the hole that we're going to cut. Now, that's on the inside of the gasket. The fitting body fits pretty tight on that gasket. So what we do, and I would encourage you to do, is we're going to cut on the outside of the line. If you cut on the line or inside the line, that fitting is not going to fit, and you are going to hate life trying to take an 1/8 inch off of this hole. And we've only figured that out after doing many the wrong way. So cut on the outside of the line and leave a 1/16 to an 1/8 on the outside and just cut it right off. The fitting body is going to fit perfect. The flange on our fitting is 1.5 inches anyways, so, and you've got 1.5 inches of gasket right here that's going to go all the way around. So you got a lot of room to work with. Don't get sloppy, take your time, do a really nice job, and it'll go well. Okay, the first thing Peter's going to do is he's going to cut a clearance hole so he can start this little scroll saw. And when you do this, you're going to take a bit that's big enough to get your saber saw blade through. Make sure you're not going to cut across the line, but try and drill that hole right on the inside of the circle. And put it in a spot that's handy for you to get the cut started after you drill the hole. So he's going to take his time. He's going to go right through the sidewall of this tank. Safety glasses, of course, and very good. Okay, the next thing he's going to do is he's going to take his scroll saw, now that we've got a hole in the tank, and he's going to put the blade through the hole, and he's going to take his time now, and he's going to drift across that line and get lined up perfectly, a 1/16 to an 1/8 on the outside of that Sharpie line. Most important thing doing this is to take your time. There's no hurry whatsoever. You get a really nice job if you take your time. And lighting is important. So I am going to hold the light for Peter, make his job a little easier. And you can see he's doing a great job. Remember, we want to cut that Sharpie circle off. And what Peter's going to do is he's going to cut right up to the 12 o'clock position and stop when he gets to the top. He's taking his time, doing a great job. Okay, now that he cut half the circle, he's going to start again at the bottom down the 6 o'clock position. He's going to pull back on the cut and get lined up real nice, and he's going to do his best again to stay on that, right on that outside of that Sharpie line, and take it all the way up. Nice job, really nice job. So he's going to take, he's wearing gloves. We're going to take that burr off, and then we'll get inside and get this fitting put in. Okay, what we're going to do next, we could have easily edited out, but we're not going to do that because we're real and at American Tank. So we cut that hole, we've done 1 million of them, and it's too tight. So we're going to show you that fitting body just barely would go through. We could shove it through, actually it's going in, but it's a little too tight. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to show you how to trim it up. And I can tell you the #1 thing is take your time, don't run the saw fast, and you're just going to shave the edge, okay? Then it's going to fit perfect. So we will show you, we're going to show you how that goes. Go ahead. And I think you need a little right up here in this section right here. When we eyeballed it, you just eyeball it. You look for places it's very difficult to cut a perfect circle. So gonna just shave and take his time. Cut a little bit off the top section, nothing serious. Perfect. Okay, Peter's gonna try that fitting body again quick. Make sure it's gonna work now that he's trimmed up the hole. And it does, perfect, great job. Last step he's gonna do is he's gonna take a little deburring tool, which they're like $9 at Home Depot, Peter? Is that what? Yeah, what's that thing called? Do you remember? And just go real lightly around. It's going to take a nice little bevel cut, especially on these poly tanks. It's just so easy. And it's going to take the burr off the edge. You know, when a crack starts from a fitting hole, it usually starts from a gouge or a nick or a bolt hole if it was a bolted fitting, and where it hasn't been properly deburred. So when we get it on the inside of the tank, we're going to do the same thing from in there. And sometimes we'll even take a little piece of sandpaper and clean it up quick. So no burrs and no gouges. That is the key to a good installation on a fitting. Hey, and finally, I've learned in the many years of doing this and everything else in life, it's not about not making mistakes. So it's knowing how to fix them. And a good craftsman knows how to fix his mistake until you can't tell that anything happened. Just like this hole. This hole's perfect, it's ready for the fitting, and it's just like we cut it the right way the first time instead of tight. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get inside the tank and we're going to install the fitting body from the inside and slide it out. Couple things. As you can see, we tipped this tank down. So even though we could have got in there from the top, we don't do it. You need to know it's dangerous going inside tanks. Peter's going to use an air monitor. He's going to check it when he goes in. We never let our guys climb down into a tank. We won't do it. It's against company policy. Whether it's here, out in the field, we just don't do it. You can't pay us enough to do it. People die. They have died many times going in tanks and they don't come out. And by the way, you cannot get a person out if he passes out or has a problem. You get a guy stuck in the tank, it's extremely difficult to get him out through a top manhole. So we tip the tank down. I can see from here and I can monitor what's going on. So just a few basic safety tips. We never send a guy down while the tank's standing up through a top manway. You're just asking for trouble, and if you have any issues, it's impossible to get that guy out. So, Peter's going to go ahead and climb in right now. We did tip this one down when we finished up cutting the fitting hole. He's checking the air with his air monitor, and as soon as he knows it's good to go, he's going to climb in. This tank has I believe it's a 22-inch manway, pretty easy to get through. And I'm going to go ahead and hand this fitting body to Peter. All right. And all he's going to do is just slide it through the hole. The fitting body's got the gasket on it, it's ready to go. He's going to brush the crumbs off right there before he slides it in the hole. And that's it. He's just going to drop it in, and you can see how easy that is. We got a lot of fittings to put in this tank, so when we're all done, we're going to clean it out before we send it out to the customer. And I believe Peter's going to hand me his cutout and his trimmings really quick. There we go. So, that's what I'm talking about right there to make it right. So again, it's not about not making mistakes, it's knowing how to fix them so that it's like it never happened. So there you go. Next thing, we'll put the hardware on the fitting and we'll wrap it up. Okay, so we've got this tank laid down. It makes it a lot easier to get in the manhole. We've checked it with our air monitor, everything's safe. And the fitting body's installed, and Peter's gonna go ahead and get ready to put the hardware on this thing. First thing we're gonna do when you use stainless studs and running them into stainless nuts is you're going to need anti-seize. So a little trick here is line the studs up like Peter's got right here, and then put a pass down the whole top side of it and roll them 180 degrees, and boom, you got them done. It's that easy. And a little bit goes a long ways with anti-seize. So first thing we're doing here is we're putting the faceplate on the tank, and then the pressure plate, and then you'll take one of the retaining plates and, on an angle like this, sometimes it's easier to put it on from the bottom. Pick the groove that fits your tank best. These fittings come with 3 grooves, and depending on the tank wall thickness. So we're on the 2nd groove on this guy. And what Peter's doing is just putting the first stud right in the center hole of that retainer plate. That's going to hold the whole thing in place while he gets everything ready to go. So I'm going to drop the 2nd one on, put the stud in the middle hole, and the entire thing's going to just whole assembly is going to hold itself in place as we get the rest of the studs put in. So the next step is he's just going to drop them in. He's going to run them all down by hand so that they touch this faceplate that's against the tank wall. Maybe you can zoom in there a little bit and see how those studs are just going in and they're just touching that faceplate on the tank wall. So everything by hand at this point. And these are cut point set screws, so they've got a hex drive on one end and they've got a cut point on the other. And I think I failed to mention that the anti-seize goes on the cut point end, so that it is on the end that's being threaded into the hole first. And they do come with long studs so that it accommodate varying thicknesses of tank walls. Great. And that's it. You can straighten it out. You can have beautiful. Now Peter's going to go ahead and throw the jam nuts on there. And when we put the jam nuts on, we're only going to go down about halfway for now, because we do not want the jam nut to touch this retainer plates anywhere until after we get it torqued. Otherwise, if the nuts are all the way down and go to torque it, you're going to get a false reading, and you won't get accurate torque setting when you go to run them down. So, looking good. So as you can see, it just takes a minute to put all the hardware together. And the next step we're going to do is we're going to take this T-handle torque wrench. These are preset. We love these. They work great. This one's preset to 80 inch-pounds. It doesn't take a whole lot on these fittings to torque them down and get a really good seal. So you're going to just start maybe at the 12 o'clock position, then 6, and then move one to the right, and then one to the left. You're just like you're torquing the wheel down on your car. So nice even pattern, and we're just going to work our way around running everything down. With these preset T-handle torque wrenches, they click when they reach the right torque setting. So, and as you can see, you can see over here, you can see the faceplate taking on the curvature of the tank wall, and you can see the studs coming right down and torquing against it. And what's happening as this is going on is it is literally pulling the fitting body out. And that's how this patented fitting works. We don't have bolts that are drilled through the tank wall. Rather, all this hardware is on the outside of the tank, and as you tighten it, it pulls the fitting body out and gives you just a really good seal on the inside of the tank. So at this point, the gasket should be squishing out nice and compressing evenly all around the fitting body on the inside of the tank, and when we're done, we should have a perfect seal. You can hear the torque wrench now clicking as Peter tightens it up, and sometimes you got to go around a couple times, make sure everything's tight. And when you're done, you should be able to go around the entire fitting stud by stud when you're as a final check, and each one should click. There's your final check going right around just to make sure each stud is properly torqued. Okay, now that everything is torqued properly, Peter's going to run down the jam nuts everywhere, and just kind of, this is just to hold the stud in place. So you don't have to crank these down. So just an open end wrench or box end wrench like we've got here, and you're just giving a little torque. That's it. Okay, now that we've got our fitting completely installed, the last step is going to be to install this 6-inch anti-vortex assembly. As you can see right here, it's made out of 316 stainless steel. This keeps a vortex from forming in the tank and your fire connection from sucking air when the fire department's drafting off that fitting. So it's super easy to put on. We've got, again, groove lock right here on this end. We're going to use a rigid easy coupler, just the simplest thing on the planet. And it literally just goes like this. We're going to go in the tank, slide it on the fitting, take our impact wrench, boom, boom, and we're done. So we'll show you. Okay, so now that we're ready to install the anti-vortex, Peter's inside the tank. First thing he's going to do is he's going to slip this easy coupler right on the back side of the fitting. And the next step is to literally just slip the anti-vortex assembly right onto it. He's going to make sure that it's perpendicular to the bottom of the tank and lined up good. And then he's going to go ahead and run it down with the impact. double check it, and he is good to go. And it's that simple. 30 seconds tops. Okay, now that we got this tank all wrapped up, I want to show you how it came out. This is that 6-inch fitting for fire that we showed you how we installed in the tank. We went ahead and put on this 6-inch Vic flange adapter because they're going to bolt up to this with a 150-pound ANSI flange. And then they're going to drop down into the ground and do a long underground piping run. So they're going to use iron pipe going down, so it's all fireproof. I do want to point out, this is very unusual, and we're pretty proud of this, to see 150-pound flange, stainless, and steel fitting on a poly tank. This is very uncommon. We worked on this for a long time. It's a great product, and it is bulletproof. So, proud of that. Over here, wrapping up, we put on another 6-inch, that's an interconnect fitting. This is actually one of 2 tanks that are going to be tied together. That one just has groove lock on it. And the other fitting that this customer needed was for their domestic water, and that's going to be above the fire reserve that's required for this project. So their water is going to only take, they're only allowed to use about this much of the 2 tanks for their house. Okay, this tank is done and this project is wrapped up. I think it looks good. Customer's going to be happy, I'm sure, and it's going to get delivered tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it, and we really love putting these together. There'll be more in the future, and in the meantime, if you have any questions, give us a call. Our team's here and ready to help. 877-655-7100.